All right, Troy, how's it going? Welcome to the Gym Owners Podcast. Thanks for coming on. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So everybody, this is Troy Barnum. He has a very interesting story because he has a very successful ATV business, but still decided to go out and purchase a couple of, I guess they were failing gyms. Why don't you tell that story and on how you ended up being a gym owner?
Sure. So actually in like 2011 is when I got into e-commerce and it's one of my passions, dirt bikes, power sports industry. And before that, I traveled all over the country doing energy auditing. I've been an entrepreneur majority of my life. I just turned 50. So I've seen a lot, had businesses over the years, successes and failures, and I've kind of been through all of the typical stuff that entrepreneurs go through. And but one of the things that I never did was miss a workout, didn't matter where I was at. And owning a gym was the furthest thing from my mind. I just, I enjoyed working out, and it didn't matter what time it was. I got in, I made sure I got my workout in 1 o'clock in the morning. It just didn't matter to me. I wanted to get the workout in. And interesting enough, as much traveling as I did in gyms that I saw, it gave me a kind of perspective on how other people ran their gyms, what equipment they had in there, the demographics of the area, and those types of things. And so I had that perspective kind of going into it. And so 2013, one of the businesses I had actually took me into the local gym, and I knew the local gym. Most of the time the equipment wasn't working. They had signs on it, equipment or parts coming soon, that had been on for 3 months, and that type of thing. And so I was actually driving, 2 towns over to hit the gym, because going to the local gym, was, you just didn't get a good workout in. You're irritated about it all the time. And so, but one of my businesses took me into the gym, and I got to know the owner, did the work for him. And then about a year later, he called me back and wanted me to do some more work, but they had moved the gym. And so actually this would have been in 2012. And so in 2013, they moved the gym, and I went into the gym to do the work, and it was just lipstick on a pig. They painted the walls, but they had the same equipment. Especially a year later, it didn't look like the toilets had been cleaned since they opened a year ago. It was just the lack of care of the gym. And so I went home to my wife and said, I think we can buy the gym and turn it around. She said, what are you talking about? We hadn't talked about anything. She just knows. She's like, okay, well, here's another crazy idea. One thing that had helped us in making that decision, though, she'd been an instructor for years, and just do it recreational and go into the different gyms. And so she was pretty familiar with the demographics and things like that. And so we talked about it, and I called him up and I said, hey, would you be interested in selling the gym? And he said, well, I hadn't thought about it, but maybe, let me get back to you. And I said, by the way, I have cash. So if you want to do it, that helps. So if you want to do it, let's talk. So I was looking to diversify, being an entrepreneur. I was building another business and just looking to diversify, and I enjoyed working out, and I was familiar with the industry, and so why not? So we ended up buying it, working a deal. There was roughly like 250 members in a 6,000 square foot facility. The other half of the facility was it was a beauty school, and it was another 10,000 square feet roughly. So the whole building was about 15,000 square feet. And so the minute I took over, I knew that I wanted the whole building. I didn't know how. I didn't know exactly what we were going to do. But through all my research and traveling and everything that I did, I was pretty familiar with what just the average gym person wanted. One of the mistakes that I saw out there was there's too many gym that went out of business and some that are struggling. And in this case, not with this gym was just lack of effort. The first one. The second one was, in my opinion, somebody or people getting stuck on their fitness philosophy rather than servicing their customers, and not knowing their demographics. If you want to specialize in something, you better know exactly what you're specializing in and how many people you're going to bring in. And because not everybody wants something specific, and when they walk into a gym and they're looking for a traditional workout, and that's what you're advertising, they don't get that, you're going to lose it pretty fast. And that's, in my opinion, kind of what happened with the second gym that we took over. But back to the first one, one of the things that I was paying attention to is, so many gym owners, like I said, get stuck with their fitness philosophy. And I put that aside. I knew how I like to work out. I consider myself traditional fitness person, but I want diversity, And then the other thing is I want it to be clean. There's some gyms I go into and it'd be pretty disgusting on my travels. And others would be, oh, this is awesome. I can do a push-up without having a fuzzy, flat my nose. So our motto is clean, friendly, and affordable. Our demographics was small town, which was, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the statistics, the chances of survival with what I was trying to do wouldn't work, and that's why, and that I'm actually with the fifth gym owner.
Gotcha.
The original gym in the town was open about 2001, I think, or 2000. And then I got a hold of it in 2013. And I just put basic business principles and put aside my fitness philosophy and started to just know my demographics, know the people, a fair price, and they want, and know people you don't have to travel. And it took quite a while, of course, to get the word out. And even to this day, now it's been 8 years, even to this day, I don't do a lot of print ads and I don't do a lot of marketing. We really focus on word of mouth and taking care of people. One of the best and worst decisions I made was going 24-hour, as you can imagine. Best decision is because you do bring in a lot of people that you normally wouldn't. Worst is because of the headache that comes with, there's plenty of people who don't mind stealing from you and coming in and the hassle of that. But the upside of 24-hour, if you can do it, it far outweighs that, but you still have to put things in place, and it is a pain, especially in a small hometown gym. So yeah, and then we just started to diversify. What do we want? What's around in the area? That was back when you didn't see a lot of turf in typical gyms.
Right.
And so, fast forward 4 years, I ended up taking over the whole building, and it was all about customer service, taking care of people, let them know if there's an issue of billing. We took care of it. We just made sure we took care of people, customer service. And like I said, just basic business principles, and not even thinking about workouts or those different things that you think that might bring people into the gym. Now, in some certain areas I found, of course, that's definitely important. And that's how important it is to know your demographics and get out and visit and know and that type of thing. And so it really came down to customer service and listening to the customers and asking them what they wanted, fixing the equipment. I literally went in and got rid of half of the equipment, fixed what I could. And then I was constantly looking for deals. I was constantly looking for where can I buy equipment, and got to know, because remember, I didn't have any contacts in the industry. I didn't know anybody in the industry. I just, I have people ask me all the time, how I was able to make it work, being the sixth business owner over, a course of 13 years, basically. And,
Right.
And it's all about the basic business principles, financially, when we really started the ramp, the cash flow was good. But I didn't hardly take any money out of the company. I just kept dumping it back into it, and growing it and growing it and growing it. And, now between the two gyms, we have roughly just over 3,000 members, you know, in a 50,000 populated area within my demographics, you know. So, and one thing I looked at too is like, what would my competition look like 10 years down the road? You know, could I compete if somebody bigger came in with more money, better equipment, and that type of thing? And so I just scaled it and budgeted along the way. And I was constantly looking for deals, making sure I had good equipment. I've got some treadmills in there that are, you know, the HR 9500s that are 20, 18 years old that look brand new because, you know, they run because when it breaks, we fix it. You know, we budget for it. And I see, you know, the gym business is hard because of, you know, the overhead. And so you have to look at what point, you know, can I start doing different things and having those benchmarks, and realistically, all the things that was successful had nothing to do with how I liked working out, you know, had everything to do with what do the customers want and diversify. And if you go to our website today, it's like diversify your workout. We had, and that's what, you know, that's what we stuck with. And that's what I listened to, you know, one of the gyms, so both of them have pretty much close to 3,000 square feet of turf in it, complete functional area. We have a lot of CrossFitters that come in because they can do CrossFit and a traditional workout, you know, but they still go to their CrossFit gym. You know, I don't have a problem with what you like, right? I mean,
Yeah,
somebody
sure,
comes in
sure.
and says, I have people say, well, I go to CrossFit. I said, that's awesome. I've got a CrossFit too, you know, break down that barrier because, you know, it's kind of funny. I've had one of my buddies who's a CrossFit owner when I was opening the gym up. He's like, yeah, traditional gyms are going to go by the wayside, you know, and I knew that not to be true because people are passionate. CrossFitters are passionate about what they do. And it's, like I said, it's a great workout, but as a business owner, if you want to do CrossFit, great, come in and do CrossFit in the area, do your workouts. We have people cross. What I found also too is the other gyms around that we're working on their specific niches was that there's only so many, you can only sustain that for so long in the demographic of charging $100, $200 for membership.
Sure.
And I find that I have a lot of people still coming over saying, I was just paying way too much and I can get what I need here, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how we continue to grow. And that's how we don't do a lot of advertising. I mean, we do a little bit. Most of the advertising I do, honestly, is to support local businesses who are advertising agencies, print ads, things like that. You know, we'll get something out of it, but really focus on the customer service, getting in with the people, clean facility, and then putting the basic business principles, and always diversifying, you know. Now I don't run the front desk. I ran it 24/7. I got to know the business. You know, another mistake I see is people go in, they try to hire people to run it and do it. And if you don't know the nuts and bolts of the business side of it, I mean, I literally was there from open to close when I opened it. And to make sure that I understood what I needed to do, listen to the people, you know, and it's just been taken off from there. And the second one, I really didn't even plan on opening a second one. I was happy with the one we were doing. And I actually found out that they had gone out of business or they were closing the January 2018. And so it was the bank, it ended up being a bank-owned property in the business complex it was in. I went and talked to the bank and I found out there's 3 other people trying to get it. And so I had to, you know, plead my case on why it should be me. And I figured, well, if I'm going to have competition, I might as well compete against myself, you know. And because it's only 7 minutes away from the other gym, it's a different town, but it's 7 minutes away, and that's if you hit the stoplights. So, and because of the success of the first gym, I was able to get this one and work with the bank and kind of the same thing, work through it, got rid of equipment and use the same principle. And honestly, if I went, you know, I have an opportunity to do 1 and 2 more. I'll decide if I want to or not. Because honestly, just kind of being an entrepreneur, you can't turn your back on opportunity, and that's what happened with these. And we actually ended up buying the second building. We're working on the first, you know, and we've been able to invest. And you know, COVID helped with some of the fire sale on some of the equipment. Even some brand new stuff we got from Life Fitness that was better than some of the used stuff. and just constantly looking for opportunity, to grow and expand, and don't get comfortable, and be in there. Like I said, I don't work the front desk anymore. Matter of fact, my employees are so much better than I am working the front desk now. But as a business owner, you got to know the output, right? I still know what the output needs to be. I still know what the basics are. I'm still in there talking to customers. I still go in and clean. I still go in and make sure that the customers know that I'm around, and I talk to them on a different level and listen to them, and make sure that we're not always black and white with billing problems. We work through it with customers and stuff like that. So many people get stuck on their policies. And if you have the opportunity to gain a customer a year later by the decision you make on whether you're going to hold them to a contract or something like that, or how you treat them when they decide they need to cancel for whatever reason, we have a lot of people come back because of that, how they're treated and how we handle things. And even when it's an uncomfortable situation, we try to handle it in a way that we're going to gain that customer back. They were a gym, goer at one point. They may come back and go somewhere else. What are we going to do that's different? And just stayed with those basic principles, and it grew from there.
Sure.
I still do my e-commerce, and I have the 2 gyms, and I run them together. As a matter of fact, the building I bought, I'm moving my e-commerce office over next to the office right next to the gym, the Salem gym, and just so I can stay involved and continue to build it. And I'm still going to put those same principles day to day. Doesn't matter how much money the gym's making, doesn't matter how successful I think it is, just never lose sight of what got us there, and keep doing that,
Well, look at your motto. Your motto, any consulting I've ever done in the past with any gym, literally, I would tell people, if there's only 2 pieces of advice you could take away from anything, is A, keep everything as clean as possible as you get off the floor, and treat people like family. And look at your motto: clean, treat people like friendly, and affordable. It's literally baked into your model. So I have no doubt why you guys are very successful. I do have a question though, because I have people that just own gyms, right? And they say they don't have time, or it's funny because you see people that become a gym owner because they love to work out, and then all of a sudden they stop working out themselves because they say they have no time. Or at the end, with your successful ATV business plus having 2 gyms, how do you find balance to still get a workout in, or how do you find balance?
For one, I never counted on a specific time. I count on making sure to get stuff done and prioritize by what time sensitive stuff. Now I will say, I definitely worked out more before I was a gym owner. I did end up putting a small gym in my home because it was very difficult to work out at the gym because people wanted to talk to me because they knew me.
Yep.
And I would dissect everything. And instead of pointing it out to the employees, and this was early on, it's a lot better now. I would end up picking things up or cleaning up instead of working out. And so I'm like, okay, I've got to make sure that I balance this, And so one of the things I did is I did put a small workout gym in my home. And honestly, I have people who buy equipment from me, old equipment, who have a workout at their home. But they're like, I do both because I just love coming here because of the environment and everything. So it doesn't bother me if people have, it's like home gyms, right? And so, because I even do,
right,
to balance that, and then hit some of the classes that I like, not so much anymore, but we really focus on the functional training and things like that, and try to get away from the traditional. But to answer your question, somebody gave me advice a long time ago, 30 years ago. And I was worried about being a new entrepreneur, in my 20s. And I asked the same question: how do you balance that? And it was simple. They said, you have time for what you make time for and what you put into it. Okay. Now I worked a lot of hours. I mean, I probably worked, 15 to 18 hours. And so if I needed to repair equipment or do something, I'd schedule that between 10 and midnight. And things like that. And so same thing with my ATV business. I schedule and I try to stay to the schedule. And if something comes up, It's not important. I schedule it and I tell, I just scheduling your time, managing your time. And now it's to where I can bounce around a lot more and I can choose how much time I put into it. And again, it's balancing the time. And I know that I've got to put a specific amount of time into both businesses to continue getting them to go. So I'm still, when I don't have a lot going, I'm still 8 to 10 hours a day. And as a business owner, it never shuts off. But it's scheduling it and figuring out when you want to schedule it and knowing specific tasks that you need to get done. Because as an entrepreneur, things happen, things you got to take care of in the middle of the day, but you still have those basic things that you've got to get done. And it just, I've always lived by that. You've got time, what you're willing to put time into, and prioritizing what's important. And as a business owner, I see that way too many guys chasing their tail, because there is a jump, there is a step from going from one level to the other. And the most uncomfortable step is, well, I could pay myself $100,000 this year or more, or I can pay myself what I need, my basic needs, and put another $50,000 into my business. And that's going to make me 200 or 300,000 over the next 5 years, and I see that happen time and time again. And small business owners don't take that step. It is scary, but I came from nothing. I was a farm kid. I didn't have two nickels to rub together, so it's not like I had money to start with. I just had a work ethic, and I was willing to do what I needed to do. I knew I didn't want to work for anybody. I don't make a good employee, because I can always do it better, even though somebody is better than me. I recognize that, and so yeah, that's kind of what I live by every day.
Gotcha. You said before that you knew that there was diversity needed. I'm glad you said that, because so many times, like, I'll talk to somebody that's thinking about starting a gym and it's from their hobby. They love lifting, or let's just take, for example, they love lifting heavy and they want to start a powerlifting gym. And it kind of, I almost want to ask them, like, do you want to do this to make money, or do you want to do this as a hobby? Because I'll always use the grocery store analogy, where last time you were at the grocery store, how many, let's say, powerlifters did you see while you were shopping? How many do you want to do business to that 1% if you were able to see that one other person shopping, or do you want to do business to the rest of the grocery store, right? So at what point did you see that you wanted diversity? So this way you could kind of grab stuff from like that CrossFit market and not just be a gym. What advice, like, when did you notice that and how did you implement it?
Well, right before I opened up, because that's how I like to work out. I knew that that's something I wanted to do. And when I built our website, that's been on our website, diversify your workout, along with our motto. So, and diversify your workout's more of a slogan. And so, I knew that I wanted to do it. The question is, how do I want to do it? And one thing I did notice is, we added sports training, because I knew that I was going to need a turf area, about a year later. And so the thing about it is, and I'm glad you asked that question, is because I had a ton of ideas. And even though I knew that I couldn't implement, I wrote it down. And some of them I didn't implement until 5 years later. I made those benchmarks, basically goal setting, and you never take your focus off of where you want the gym or where you want it to be. And so I knew with 6,000 square feet, it'd be very limited to be able to put turf in and do some of the functional stuff. And so it's like, well, where do I have to be and what do I have to do? And then break it down. And then I knew that I needed the rest of the building. And so I knew what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, and I never lost sight of it. And when we opened up and we got the full 15,000 square feet, I put 3,000 of it in turf. And you think, well, that's a lot of real estate that you can put equipment in, but we've got functional racks down both sides. We got a boxing rack in there with 8 bags. We have, just boxing classes, and that's the thing too, is like adding classes. What classes do we add? We don't do a lot of aerobic classes anymore. We do more functional. because we're finding that that's higher retention than a Zumba class. And so instead of having 3 or 4 or 5, or, I mean, we had literally probably 30 classes a week, and now we're barely 10 because it's functional.
Sure.
And so just never taking side off it, and knowing that I knew that was going to go and diversify, and knowing that's how I like to work out, you know, having the diversity.
Right.
And you'll be surprised when people don't think they need the diversity because they are stuck in a powerlifting gym or whatever it might be. They come in and they're like, oh wow, I didn't know. Like my wife did a great job at transitioning people from classes, because she quit teaching classes in other places. You know, and that'd be maybe a bit of advice I'd give people. It was my wife that I worked with, and she's the 50% owner as well. And so when she stopped teaching, we did have some people come over and look for her specific classes, and then she started to teach people to transition out of the aerobic classes, because there's a lot of people and that's all they do is go to aerobic classes. So then we're saying, well, we need to have a class with these same people during the class. So she would teach a pump class or something like that and say, okay, last 15 minutes, we're going to go work out in the gym. And some people were like, well, I've never worked out in the gym. And so we transitioned a lot of people and educated them on how to work out in the gym. And you just don't have to go to an aerobics class and have that be in addition to what you do. And so, and we still do that. There's a lot of things that we do that, that sometimes I forget about, and it's just business now. And that's one thing that we still do, is we work on trying to transition people from basic classes to how do you work out in the gym? Because you don't realize that they're in the gym, they know how to work out. Well, they're walking through just to get to the classroom, but they don't touch anything else. Gotcha.
Look, I have a question. Since before you became a gym owner, you were pretty big with e-commerce. You had a successful business. I know a lot of owners are 50-50 with online sales, with letting people sign up online. What is your take on that? And did your e-commerce background have an advantage with doing online sales to signing up for memberships?
Well, definitely, yes, it did help, but definitely I wasn't scared of it. And just like anything else, I knew that it would be a piece of the business that would help. And I'd ask myself, would that help? Should I spend time on it, or would it hurt? And definitely online, enrollments definitely will help. Especially, being 24-hour, people can sign up, and then they can come in with a friend. Then they get their key card and their picture the next day if they don't upload it. But even before we came on with you guys, I actually had built my own enrollment, because the software I had was just local based, computer based only. It wasn't, web based. And
Gotcha.
so I actually had
no names of previous software. I don't want to throw any other software companies under the bus. I know you guys have been with us for a couple of years. It was actually a funny story. I think I met you, and then you ended up going with someone else. And then like a couple of years later, we reconnected, and you've been with us for a while now. So you actually built your own 24-hour system before with your previous company.
Yeah. Huh. So it was a software that the gym was using before. And it was actually a pretty decent software for what it was and for what you paid. And having a little bit of technical background too, and knowing people, and working with people over the years, I called in a few favors, and I called a buddy of mine that does automation, and I said, hey, I've got this software, I want to go 24-hour. All they have is a trigger, yes, no output on the software. And and I said, so I want to build an access system from there, and that's the thing. I mean, don't be afraid to try something, it is harder when you put a bunch of money into it, and that's the thing too, is like, if you want to start a business or something, you start preparing for it,
Sure.
And that's the thing, is like, I came across some equipment at an auction the night before, a couple years ago. and of a bigger gym that they were just closing up, and the equipment was 2 years old. And had not prepared to add equipment, I don't know if I would have had the money to do it. And I could see, and I literally was just sitting there. It was online auction. I was just literally sitting there. I'll take that. I'll take that for that price. I'll take that, and prepare for those things. Don't put any more money in your pocket unless you have to, don't
Sure.
get greedy with yourself. And if you want to build your business, and like you said, don't get stuck in the, in one dimension, trying to figure things out.
So we went over the building, your motto of being clean, treating people like friendly to family, how you got your equipment. Last piece of the puzzle is there's a lot of gym owners that are having problems with employees, getting people in. What do you attribute your success for finding employees and keeping them employees?
Well, it's definitely a challenge because it's an entry-level position. And so when we do the interviewing and when we talk and when we look, and we do have a policy that we don't hire under 18 or in high school, but we have made exceptions,
Sure.
if we are familiar, or, there's certain exceptions to hiring. And so it is an entry-level position, but when we hire people, it's a cleaning job. We tell them it's a cleaning job, and you're going to be signing people up in customer service. Because we found that if we said, well, it's a customer service, working the front desk, signing people up, and cleaning is not the priority. And so whatever is a priority in your business, what you want your employees to do, then that's what you hire them for, along with the additional things like the signups and the customer service. And so the retention really is we found that also, there's lots to do in a gym. You can never clean too much. There's always something to do. And we found that if the employees have structure, some of them, early on would quit because it was boring, right? And working the front desk, unless you're at the busy times, especially in the middle of the day. And so we keep them busy. We keep them things to do. Responsibilities, we have surveillance for the 24-hour access. And so we have assigned some of the employees in different gyms on shifts to go through the surveillance video because they know the customers better than us,
Sure.
and offloading simple things to help to give them a sense of responsibility while they're working. And because it is an entry level, we do have turnover, higher than probably some, but for the retention, that's what we do. I've had some people that's been with me almost from the beginning, and so, but because most of the time when people quit, it's because they're going to school, or they have something, or they've gotten married, or that type of thing, because we're, that 18 to mid 20 range of employees, and now, it's been 8 years, we've got the 2 gyms, and depends on the position. Now we will pay a little bit more, I have a great manager, and she just, it's focused on paying attention to the employees as much as your customers.
Sure.
The employees know that they can pick up the phone and call me, make them feel comfortable with me, and that type of thing with the retention, because if they do decide, you get employees who might get paid $1 more and they don't tell you why they're leaving, you find out after the fact. But all my employees, hey, if you like working here but you find a better opportunity, come talk to me first. If you'd rather stay here, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you're going to go and get a better job or try to do something better than what you're doing now. But if you like it here and you need to make just a little bit more money, come talk to me, because realistically, it's cheaper to pay more sometimes than it is to start over. So, and that's
How do you feel about hiring members that go to your gym? Have you done that, and has it worked out?
I do stay away from it. Just because of it, you do run into problems. Good people, right? Sometimes, I do stay away from hiring friends and oh, that person would be good. I just, I try to hire people that I don't know, because of the comfort level in the gym. They get lax. You know, unintentionally, a lot of times they don't know that they're doing it. You know, make decisions that are not like financial decisions that are basically not best interest for the business. They know somebody who comes in, and they end up waiving the enrollment fee without approval and things like that. Like, oh, he won't care if, you know. And so I actually made that a policy pretty much from day one, just knowing that that would be a problem. You know, and so I'm trying to think if I don't think I've actually have done it because I've stayed away from it. Now I've hired members to be trainers, like if they went out and got their certification. And that's the thing with our training. You know, we don't focus on the training, but we do have it. And you know, I pay, you know, it's absurd. People give me a hard time, but I pay 80-20, you know, I give the trainer 80.
Wow.
But it's their job to build the business. I don't do it for them. So I want people who are hungry and know that they can come in and hustle and actually make a living. Because part of my business model doesn't depend on training. I knew training is a balance. I knew it's hard. I knew it's hard at the retention. And so I keep 20%, make a little bit, but I retain the trainers, and they're happy and they're pushing.
And your members as well. If people get
Yeah.
training, they stay with your gym. They don't pay for 10 months of not using it and cancel. So it's a win-win for you as well.
Yeah. So I mean, my focus, all that extra stuff was great. All the supplements and things like that. My focus was retaining memberships and not depending on anything else because it's so volatile. But the memberships is something that you can, you know, you can have control over, you can dissect, you can figure out what's going on, why do we lose members, or how are we gaining. You know, the other stuff is just extra money. It's great. Like I said, if it goes away, the gym can survive specifically on memberships. So, but again, demographics, right? Because somebody might out there might listen to this and say, well, that's not going to work in my area. And they're right. It may not work in their area. So get out and go to all the other gyms and go and talk to people if you're going to start up, you know. Don't fool yourself. It takes a lot of money, you know. So if you really want to, and that's the thing, is like, I just want to be a business owner. I didn't know it was going to be a gym. I didn't know I was going to do e-commerce. I just want to be a business owner. And so I just learned how to, well, first of all, I got to have money. So I went and I got jobs, you know. I worked jobs. I worked younger. I socked the money away. I saved it, you know. just grassroots, you know, America, you know, just working hard and putting the money away and putting it to use. I mean, even my kids, you know, they're getting older, and you got to start somewhere, you know.
I know your market. You have to know your market, what you want to. Can't just say I want a gym. Know the area that you're in and what type of gym it's going to be, not just because you love it.
You know, and I create an environment that I want to hang out in, right? You know, sure. I'm tons of relationships. I know somebody says hi to me in the community, and I probably met them from the gym if I recognize them, right? Because you know, and so, you know, and enjoy the environment that you're in. Your business doesn't have to be a grind every single day. It will in the beginning, right?
Right.
It's always, and some days it still is a grind, but it's better when you built it and you have the money to fix the problems. But in the beginning, you don't, right? So
right. That goes to my next question. I know you're busy. You had a meeting after this, but if you could do everything, I always ask this at the end. Knowing everything that you know now with all your years at these two gyms, if you go back in time and do something over, what would that be?
Oh man, I mean, that's a good question, because I ask myself that all the time, because that's what I try to make decisions on moving forward. I mean, specifically with the gyms, you know, not that I made every perfect decision, you know, but I don't know how much I would do different, because I know I always come back to the basic business principles. You know, I mean, I just continue to educate myself on business principles and what's out there and apply them to the gym. And so it's hard to say what I would do different, because I'm pretty happy with with what, awesome. You know, I can say, well, I wish I worked less, or I wish I worked more. Well, I did both of those things, you know. You know, I would say probably how important the software is, you know, and I definitely want to bring that up because that's why we did transition back to Gym Insight. Is because when we first talked, I knew that I needed to transition away from my old software because it just wasn't doing it. And when we talked, I made a decision to go with another software, which cost me a whole lot more money. And because I didn't feel like Gym Insight had the features, but what I learned is I don't need all those features. I don't need to pay all that money. And Gym Insight is like, it's night and day since then, right?
Right. So we've grown quite a bit.
But
Yeah.
you know, and one of the biggest things is being able to control my credit card costs. With the other companies, you can't control and that was one of the biggest things I came back over because I felt like I had a bait and switch on that. And all of a sudden I was paying more for the software than what I anticipated. You hear all the stories, right? And it's just not one, it's a handful of them. And so, you know, so that's why actually it was only like a year later, I think, is when I came back in college and said, hey, let's take a look at this. I know there's some of the things that I don't really, and then I asked myself, do I really need all those bells and whistles, right? Based on the gym. And I think that Gym Insight hits a demographic of my type of gym and specifically what it is and what we try to do. And it grows. And what I loved about you guys is you listened to ideas, you know, and implemented those ideas, and you continue to do that. You know, I get hit up all the time still, you know, and honestly, I don't even talk to anybody else anymore because I'm not going to switch. There's no need to, because if there's a good feature or something we want and it's a good idea and you guys look at it and other people like it, you're going to implement it. Yep. You know, you're gonna make the change. Just like me as a small business owner, I'm there, I'm involved. I listen. I'm not going to make somebody else is going to make a decision based on what's on the spreadsheet, and they're never in the gym, right? And so that's what I love about you guys. And you know, especially working through the 24-hour when I switched over to you guys, and I could get a hold of somebody, right? I could text you, and it was like a Sunday night at 7 o'clock.
I think it was Christmas. I talked.
When we first put 24-hour in, that's 4 years ago in Salem gym. And I was just like, you know what, man, anybody who does that has got my business and will work through anything, you know, and that's how I ran my business. So making myself available within reason. Right. And so, but yeah, here we are. And, you know,
and don't forget, like, just besides software, you know, I always tell new gym owners, especially, or even if somebody is looking for ways to help their gym, I'm here besides just software, or we're here besides just software, to like talk to your managers, to maybe, you know, I think I've talked to your managers before to try to implement standard operating procedures to just help out a little bit. That's the other, I would say, side of it, is that we liked running gyms when we had gyms, and we want to help our customers grow as big as possible.
Yeah, and definitely we've had definitely long conversations on retention and different things like that we continue to implement, you know. And so that's the other thing too, is talking to you and just ideas, because you have run a gym before and we've implemented some of those, and it's just that's part of running a business, is never think that you know more than what, you know, there's somebody always out there that knows more than you or has a different experience. Don't think that you know everything. Be humble enough. Doesn't matter how old you are. You know, doesn't matter how many businesses, doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. There's always somebody that knows something that you can learn from. That's why
I'm still learning.
Yeah, you know,
I'm still learning with new owners that come on. I hear something different, and I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. That's kind of why I do these, just because every lesson learned while you own your gym or employees is working for you. Oh, I always say this: every lesson learned costs two things. It costs you time and money. And that's kind of why I do get myself one out to my customers and talk to them, because anything that I can help them avoid that and just go right to, you know, working, having a successful gym, or, you know, functioning better at the business, I'm all for. This is my favorite part of the job, is where I just get to talk shop with gym owners. And, you know, if I could, I wish I could just talk to gym owners all day and because not just customers, like a lot of you guys have become my friends, and trust me, I wouldn't be giving my cell phone number out to you guys. But you know, if you had to give someone that's on the fence, that's watching this, that's thinking about pulling the trigger, if it's buying a used gym or starting up a location, what's the one piece of advice that would stand out that you would give them?
You know, you sit there and you evaluate, and should I do this or shouldn't I do this? Make a first, leave your emotions aside. I want this, I want this, I want this. That's going to drive the business. That emotion will drive the business. But before you make that decision, put all the emotions aside, put all of what you think and make a calculated decision, and make it based on just like what I did. I saw the opportunity. If I didn't think I could make it go, no matter how bad I wanted to do it, I wasn't going to do it. And so process it, think about it, don't make any rash decisions, you know, and find out the costs, you know. If you buy a gym and they show you the revenue and they show you all that stuff, can you operate if you go in and lose 20%, you know, in a transition? Can you operate losing 30 and build it back up? You know, make a calculated decision and not an emotional decision, because, well, I ran track in high school and I was the best in college and all this. I'm going to make a decision because I was a really good athlete. That's a wrong decision to make in business. You know, being a good athlete doesn't make you a good business owner. There's principles for sure. I'm heavily involved in sports that you can learn to run the business, but not, you know, make a calculated decision. And no matter how bad you want to do something, if it doesn't make sense, don't do it.
Awesome advice. Yeah, that's really good. Well, Troy, thank you so much for being on here. I know you're one of my busier customers, and you know, if you need anything, as always, give me a call. But I will have to get you back on here for another episode. This went pretty fast.
Yeah, it did. 45 minutes. I'm only 15 minutes late, but I'm good.
All right, I'll let you go. I'll talk to you soon and have a great weekend.
Okay, thanks. You too. Bye.
Thanks, Troy. Bye.